forget Ozempic, there's a new king in town for GLP-1 weight loss medication. Hi, beautiful friends. I'm Elizabeth, Countess of Shopping. I've got a new study for you on today's episode. We're going to deep dive into the new king. There's been a dethroning happening with GLP-1 medication. If we don't know each other, I'm Elizabeth, Countess of Shopping. I've been on GLP-1 medication the last 2+ years with over 110 plus GLP injections, losing over 107 pounds the last 2+ years, with my own experience, strength, and hope going from morbid obesity to now being almost a quote normal weight, healthy weight. And so on today's episode, I have a deep dive study. I'm going to link it down in our description link below. To get to the description links, just click the more button and click the more button again, and you'll see a whole list of all of my free resources. And I'm going to be citing my sources. I require and demand that I am factually accurate. And so you can double check. I always like it when people double check my references too. So on today's episode, there's the big news study that came out, and you may have heard about it. And there's so much hype in the media right now with Ozempic that I wanted to share this for you and give hope and excitement. If you are a GLP-1 user, whether you're taking Ozempic or Zepbound, or if you're on even Trulicity or some other GLP-1 medications, let's deep dive in about this. But first, two things. One, I'm going to explain different vernacular, then we're going to go into the study. But my primary focus as I'm talking about these different drugs is to have you walk away from this video better than you came. My job is to be a source of encouragement and positivity. Within this study, there is a slanting that I don't want to have happen of where you may feel, depending on what medication you're on, you may feel a particular way. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will walk away feeling, really, I do. It's one of the things that I hold myself to the standard before I film is, is the viewer gonna leave encouraged, positive, and learn something? So that is my goal on today's video, and I think I'm gonna hit it pretty well. So let's dive in. So in this study, it talks about different word choices. And so Ozempic, which was in my title of this video, is a semaglutide. So when you hear me say semaglutide, which is Ozempic, which is FDA approved for type 2 diabetes, is the same thing as Wegovy, which is FDA approval for obesity management. And so when you hear semaglutide, also some people say that about compounds. There's been a ton of changes within the compound world recently with new court rulings, but the brand names are Ozempic and Wegovy. The active ingredient is semaglutide in those. So when I say forget Ozempic, I meant in that title, it wasn't to mean forget it, because this is life-changing medication. Life-changing. What a gift and what a miracle it is. Now, another gift and miracle, in my humble opinion, is Tirzepatide. It is the same thing that is the active ingredient as Mounjaro for type 2 diabetes, the active ingredient as Zepbound, which is for obesity management, and now also sleep apnea. With both of these, more and more FDA approvals are going to be coming out if they change the names or whatever. If you hear Tirzepatide, though, that's the active ingredient in Mounjaro and Zepbound. And if you hear semaglutide, that is the active ingredient Ozempic and Wegovy. Semaglutide, Ozempic, and Wegovy have GLP-1. Tirzepatide has GLP-1 and GIP in there. And so with that, Tirzepatide within the study achieved 47% increase in weight loss than semaglutide with obesity, but not with type 2 diabetes. So for type 2 diabetes friends, that's Mounjaro. Type 2 diabetes friends, that's Ozempic. To give context, so we're talking the same language here. We're making sure we're talking the same language here. So with that, Tirzepatide achieved 47% more weight loss for obesity, but not with folks with type 2 diabetes. So that would be with the Zepbound then versus Wegovy. Within 72 weeks, and this is what's fascinating with this study. And so if you're debating if you have the choice to be able to take one or the other with your health insurance, the results are showing Zepbound for obesity management is much higher than Wegovy. Now, with the recent change in Caremark, the PBM for CVS, Stay tuned with me. Don't get up. This is where I was saying about the emotional management of it. You're going to leave feeling positive. Stay with me. Stay with me. Let's get the data, and then we're going to go into that piece, because I know many of you watching have been affected by that. So within this, there was a 72 weeks of participants taking Tirzepatide lost on average 20.2% of their body weight, and that's 47% greater than compared to 13.7% average weight loss with semaglutide. So to recap that, these results were presented in the 2025 European Congress on Obesity in Spain, and they were published in the New England Journal of Medicine. You guys know I require like legit sources, and so New England Journal of Medicine, check. The study was led by Dr. Louis J. Aron, Director of Comprehensive Weight Control in Cornell Medicine in New York City. So that study, by the way, I think very important to note. So where we get our studies from, of where they're funded from. You want to know who funded the study? Yes, Eli Lilly, the manufacturer of Mounjaro and Zepbound. You know who their competitor is? OZEMPIC and WEGOVY. So keep that in your hip pocket as we go through and talk about these, as Eli Lilly was the one funding this particular study. So there's some problems with this study, but there's also some strengths that I'm really happy that Eli Lilly did as I went through and combed through this study so I could present it to y'all, is the trial was 751 adults with obesity, but no type 2 diabetes diagnosis. They were randomly assigned either Zepbound 10.5 milligrams or 15 milligrams. Now, I've been on Zepbound 15 milligrams, that's the highest dose, for over a year now. And in semaglutide, it was 1.7 milligrams or 2.4 milligrams, which is the highest of WEGOVY semaglutide. Both medications were given once weekly injections for a total of 72 weeks, so well over a year. The average participant was about 45 years old. Roughly 2/3 were women, woohoo, and just over 3/4 were white. It's fascinating to me, the diversity that was included in this, though. I'm going to get to that part. That's actually one of the strengths that I read. I went, woohoo! Was so happy to see there's a diversity component in this, which is awesome. So it goes through, most have been living with obesity, the people in this, for around 16 years. Now, let's pause for a second. How long have you been obese for? I know I was put on my first diet since I was in elementary school, and I've been morbidly obese. And, well, I was obese and then morbidly weighing over 300 pounds for decades now. And then many of you have seen me as Countess of Low Carb when I lost a ton of weight with keto, and I gained it all back in COVID. Some of you guys are just catching up on that. Like, weren't you that low carb lady? I'm like, yeah, that was me. And I gained it all back. But then now have lost it and have kept it off. I've kept it off now for the last 2+ years. So 107 pounds total. So with this, it's saying that the part that I thought was interesting for you as a viewer is they've been living with obesity for around 16 years. For me, I've been living with obesity for over 20 years, which I thought was interesting. And I was curious. Tell me if you want to tell me in the comments below. I was curious. At the start of the study, the average body weight was 113 kilograms, and they had a BMI, the body mass, of 39.4, and the average waist circumference was 118 centimeters. Half the group also had 2 or more obesity-related health conditions. Anybody else had that too when they started GLP-1 medication? I certainly did. The primary endpoint at the 72 weeks was percentage change from weight from baseline. And so it's going through and talking in here about the 20.2% with Tirzepatide and 13.7% with semaglutide, thus the 47% higher results with Tirzepatide for weight loss, change in weight. The decrease in waist circumference was minus 18.4 centimeters with Tirzepatide and 13 centimeters with semaglutide, thus 42% higher with Tirzepatide for waist circumference in centimeters. Participants were treated with Tirzepatide were 30%, 60%, and 80%, and twice as likely to achieve weight reductions at 10%, 15%, 20%, and 25%. The most common versus side effects, which we know are gastrointestinal, diarrhea, constipation, nausea, vomiting. If you're just starting, by the way, and you are like, I have one of those, click subscribe and go watch my other videos. Most people binge watch them once you get sucked into the Countess of Shopping community here. Typically, you're like, oh, I want to learn more. Which, by the way, our new private group, by the time this video comes out, will have been opened. It is phenomenal. The Count and I have invested over $1,000 of our own money and countless nights, weekends, days, hours, making that group phenomenal. It will be also linked as a free resource for you down below. Thousands and thousands by the time this comes out, I'm sure will be in that group as well. So the rate reduction was around 6% less in males. So my male counterparts who are watching this video, it's interesting to note your experience is different than, like if you're comparing yourself to me, for example, for males, typically it is a different experience. Was around 6% less in males than females for both treatments and is believed to explain the slightly lower weight reduction in the current trial compared with previous trials. The current trial had a higher proportion of males at 35%, especially compared to the STEP, the STEP non-diabetes trials, which included 19 to 26% males. This had 35% males. The current findings align with results reported for SURMOUNT and STEP programs, as well as recent real-world evidence demonstrating higher weight reduction with Tirzepatide than semaglutide. This isn't new information that we're learning with this, though, but it's going through and it's confirming head-to-head at this specific high doses. They're both going in at the high doses, and if Clokey's watching, I know Clokey likes to poke holes in these different studies, and I'm always fascinated. So Clokey, if you're watching this one, I would love to, I know he always pokes holes and stuff. Poke those holes, honey, and others too. If you have others and you know about this study, poke holes in it, because I always am curious to hear what you guys have to say about this as well. But it goes through and talks about, although it is a single molecule, Tirzepatide pharmacologically activates two metabolic receptors, GIP and GLP-1, which have both overlapping and non-overlapping expression and function. It goes on to talk about like medical, I'm not medical at all, always talk to your own healthcare provider. This is simply my experience, strength, and hope. I do these videos to help spark conversations with you and your healthcare provider, because I am not one, nor do I pretend to play one on the internet. Simply a gal who's lost a ton of weight and who went from morbidly obese to fabulous, or I was always fabulous, but just more razzle dazzle, more fabulous. So further explaining an additional 5.4 centimeters extra reduction in waist circumference with Tirzepatide compared with semaglutide is also clinically relevant. In a large pooled analysis of waist circumference and mortality, each 5 centimeter increase in waist circumference predicted a 7% increase in mortality among men and a 9% increase among women. Okay, that got my attention. In alignment with these data, published guidance has emphasized the importance of treating patients with abdominal obesity and aiming for a reduction of at least 4 centimeters. I gotta go get out my measuring tape. You guys know I am obsessed with my measuring tape. I will link mine down in the description link below on my Amazon shopping list. If you don't have a smart tape measure, I have one that syncs in with my scale, it syncs in with my blood pressure, and I recently got their new smart ring. It's the competitor to Aura. I'll link that down below as well. The trial contains strengths and limitations. This is one that I got so excited about. When I saw this, I was like, yes, Eli Lilly. Yes, Eli Lilly gets a lot of pros and boos. They get both. But this made me very happy. One strength is the diversity of the participants, as 19% reported race as Black, African American, and 26% reported ethnicity of Hispanic or Latino, representative of the population of USA living with obesity. Can I get an amen? I was so excited to see this. I was like, thank you. Can we please have these studies not just be of white men? So to see this diversity included, I was very happy to see that, because it's representative of the population of USA. Now I know we have my UK viewers tuning in and Aussie viewers tuning in, and now India has Manjaro, and so we have Indian viewers tuning in. All are welcome here at the Countess of Shopping table. But the trial's approach to using maximum tolerated dose for both treatments addresses potentially more meaningful real-world question compared with the fixed dose approach. So this I love because it is real world approach with it as well. Now, however, a limitation was that the trial was not blinded, meaning participants, they knew which drug and the dose they were receiving. However, the authors explained the consistency of the current findings with previously blinded trials support their generalizability. You can fact check if I pronounced that incorrectly, which I'm sure I did. Dr. Iran said, our study shows that treatment with tirzepatide was superior to semaglutide with respect to reduction in body weight and waist circumference. And we talked about the waist circumference piece before in other videos. I was so happy to see this. Now, this is one of the things I felt as I was reading this so called on my heart to share about, because y'all know I love some science, and I also am an empath, and I want to be uplifting with this too, because many of you have been affected, and I'm seeing it in my free encouragement group. Many of you have been affected by Caremark, the PNB, dropping Zepbound from prescription to be able to get from CVS the PBM, not the pharmacy. The pharmacy still carries it, but in terms of like your insurance coverage of it, many of you are getting letters that Zepbound is not being covered for you anymore, and you're going to have to switch to WEGOVY. I've done other videos on that specifically with strategic step-by-step action items. So I'm not going to go through all of those because there's a whole video devoted specifically for that. But I don't want you to fret or worry about that. I know, because trust me, from my bows to my toes, I know, I understand. If I was in that position, if I could put myself in your shoes, and the empath in me is like, oh my, you can get henny penny and get, or you can take a deep breath if you've gotten one of those letters and know that you're going to figure it out. And know that WEGOVY and OZEMPIC, I said forget, the title was Forget Ozempic. That was flippant. But really, it is a miracle drug, in my humble opinion. It still has so many incredible benefits with it, and so much is changing in the GLP-1 community. Do not forget that we have CagriSema is in trials. We have retatrutide is in trials. Those are the other GLP-1s that are higher than tirzepatide, that are higher than semaglutide. So there's other ones that are coming down the pike. That's why I'm saying this is a continuous evolution. I feel like every week I had been doing breaking news stories, which if you've noticed, I pause it because I'm like, not everything is breaking news. But there have been so many different, things change so quickly in the GLP-1 community. So that's why also I do a daily show too, because there's so many changes and keeping up with them. So for you, if you've had to change from being on Zepbound or tirzepatide over to semaglutide, it is going to work out for you. I know that from my bows to my toes. And if you are scared about that, lean into my belief system for you. Lean into my belief system for you. I believe, and I know, if you've made it this far in your video, you are a man or a woman who is great resources that is going to figure it out. You're tenacious and you've got grit. And here's the deal. It is a refining period for you also, I really do believe, because I've been there too. Literally, having been now on a weight stall for the last few months, I recognize the lesson that I'm pulling from, that I can speak from my own experience, strength, and hope. There is no way I'd be lifting as much weight as I'm lifting right now had it not been for my weight stall. Facts. Facts. And so maybe this is a way for you to work on refinement for your health and wellness with your eating habits or your physical activity. Pick one or pick both. For me, I had to pick one, which first was food, and then after the first year, I can move on to my physical health. But I know, from my bows to my toes, I am lifting so much right now. My arms look delicious. Watch out, Beyonce, I got beautiful arms. And I'm lifting so much, which we need. On GLP-1 medication, there is a lot of muscle mass loss that can happen. That's with any sort of weight loss. WEGOVY, Zepbound, not just GLP-1 medication, but weight loss in general. So we need to combat that with the 1-2 punch of having protein, but also lifting weights. Talk to your healthcare provider, obviously, before starting any sort of weightlifting routine. But for me, it has been a game changer that is supporting my bones also. And so the whole point in which I'm sharing this is I want you to know that maybe for you, this is a refining period, and just a short pocket, because again, so much can change. So very much can change, and I've seen it. And I speak from my own experience, strength, and hope of having watched and been an industry leader in this over the last 2+ years, before Oprah, before Good Morning America, before all of that, of literally, I had people tell me, tons of people, when I first started this medication in January 2023, you know how many people came out of the woodwork to tell me I was going to have 5 heads and how horrible I was and blah, 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 blah. And I just knew for me, this was a great decision. and I was praying that I didn't have pancreatitis or appendicitis or less than 1% of those gnarly side effects that can happen. I was like, I'll take the diarrhea, honey. I'll take the constipation, which, by the way, if you're having constipation, go get Bioptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough on Amazon right now. You can use the discount code Countess. If you go to their website, the discount code's Queen. But on Amazon, you can buy it directly. I asked for a code. I negotiated for you guys a code. I don't have constipation because of Bioptimizer's Magnesium, because it has 7 types of magnesium in it. I digress. The refinement period for me that as a result of this weight stall has been very difficult, but also fantastic for me, truly. Because I've had to work on my food. I've had to work on food choices. I've had to learn to calculate my calories and how much I'm burning in a day. And many of you are like, why are you wearing a ring and a watch? I'm like, I want to make sure my calories are calculating properly each day to be in a calorie deficit. But all of that, I've had to learn, and it's taken me this long. And I always say, fellow turtles unite. I'm a turtle, but honey, turtles win. Turtles do win. And so if you were frustrated with that one, I hear you, I see you, I know you, I get it. I get it more than anybody gets it. I get it. But the 2 part of that you may not have thought of, this could be a refinement season for you, and that is also temporary because of what's coming down the pipeline. You don't know if your health insurance is going to cover Retatrutide or CagriSema or some of these the pill formats of the medications that are being tested right now. Oh my gosh, the world is your oyster. Hang on, buckle up. You do your part though. You have a part in this, and this is where things I can change and things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom to know the difference in those changes. I can control what I'm eating today. I can control if I'm working out right now. By the way, I bet you Sandy's pedaling on her bicycle. I bet you Mindy just came back from lifting weights or working out. Fit Cookie probably just did something physically active. She's nursing a hurt shoulder, I think, right now, or an injury, but she usually has been lifting. So many of you are doing these physical, amazing changes. This is why I love our free encouragement group and the Countess of Shopping community, because iron sharpens iron and together we rise. So, all of that to say, this study is awesome in proving the data, but if you've been forced to change off of Zepbound over to WEGOVY, or your compound stuff has changed, or if your work insurance has changed, or whatever, know that you're going to keep going on this because you're a tough cookie and a tough chickadee or chickadude. You are going to figure it out, because if you're watching this far in the video, quite frankly, you've got that grit. You've got that grit, and I believe in you. And I'm here to say, if I can do it, you can do it too. I'm special, but not that special. My mom says I'm special, and God says I'm special, and God says you're special too. And my mom will say that you're special as well. But all that, I'm half joking, but half being serious. Like, you can do this. That's the punchline. You can do this. You're going to figure it out. It may have been, for me, it has been very disappointing over the last few months to have a weight stall, but gosh, what a refinement period I've learned through changing my eating habits and working out. I would never have worked this hard lifting. Never, 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 never. Had it not been for this weight stall. It's pushed me beyond my limits of what I thought I could physically do. And now I'm physically lifting weights I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd be able to do 3 years ago. If you told me being morbidly obese, I'd be doing what I'm doing right now, I'm like, woo, you sexy thing. So you can do it too. You can do it too. Okay, my sweet friends. Our emoji of the day today is going to be, I was going to say raindrops, but YouTube does not like when the emoji is a water one. It thinks it's being naughty. So we're not going to do that. We're going to do a king or a queen as our emoji. We're going to do a king or a queen. And that's my bat signal. I do emojis of the day to get to know you better with a pattern recognition of seeing your name pop up over and over and over again. It helps me to know you because I truly do care. In addition, because I'll see your name as it pops up. I'm like, oh yeah, that's how I know so many of you, thousands of you, is literally the pattern recognition of emojis. It sounds weird, but it's true. And then it's also my bat signal to pray over you. If you don't believe in prayer, I'll uplift you in positive thought, because all are welcome at the Countess of Shopping table. In addition, your accountability question: what are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? I worked out yesterday. I lifted 2 days ago, the most I've ever lifted in decades. And then yesterday I lifted really, really well. And so today I'm going to take a day of rest. I am going to get my steps in though. It's raining, so I'm going to do that indoors. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. The dogs are not happy. Fred and Wilma are not happy about that. What are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? Now, if you've got a bestie on GLP-1 medication, share this video with them. And make sure you join our free private beta group. By the time this comes out, it has not been launched yet, but by the time this video does come out, it will have been launched. It was for limited release to make sure that Count and I could handle the capacity of it, because literally we've invested our own finances, over $1,000 into that group, and so much time into it, and we want to mitigate any problems. So once we know that there's not problems, we're going to open it to everybody. Everybody, everybody. You can tell everybody this is our song. Fit Cookie, that was for you. I love you guys. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I'm Countess of Shopping. Count my blessings because life is delicious. I'll see you for tomorrow's episode. Bye, guys.